When I first went to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Hogsmeade in 2011, it was a brand new experience to me. Not because it was my first time at Universal Orlando, but because I, unlike many others, had never experienced Harry Potter. Oh, I saw Azkaban in theaters in 2003, but I never read any of the books and never saw any of the other movies. For ages, coworkers and friends scoffed haughtily at my arrogance and assured me that I'd be a fan in no time, just like everybody else. I rode Flight of the Hippogriff, I had a butterbeer, which I still would rather have a LeFou's brew any day. Haters gonna hate. But the one detail I remembered most was being freaked out at the disembodied girl's voice in the bathroom. Public conveniences. My aforementioned scoffing associates would always, without fail at this point, happily chirp, "Moaning Myrtle!" to my chagrin. It was like friggin' clockwork. It took me nearly 3 years and one fangirl of a girlfriend to get me to binge watch all 8 movies. By the time Harry bid farewell to his son, I summed up my feelings with a slightly positive, Heck, I still haven't read the books, nor am I that terribly inclined to do so. Haters may now comment with fervent and rabid fury. I tell you all this because I finally went to Diagon Alley and escaped from Gringotts about a month after the highly anticipated area opened to the public. And despite my now having actually seen the movies, believe it or not, I still had the same reaction. Total, but appreciative, confusion. Despite my having seen the movies, I was unable and uninterested in catching all the details for the dedicated fans, i.e. everybody else in the whole wide world. But that's all it was. For example, we watched a rather entertaining stage show about the 3 brothers with some stunningly designed Bunraku puppets. But as I watched, I came to realize that never once did they say, "Harry defeated the evil Voldemort with 3 items of legend. Here is their story." They jumped right into the story with absolutely no context. Yes, I could tell what it was about, though I forgot their uses in the movies. But it made me realize how this was not created for anyone who hadn't seen or read the material. Now, I ask you, is that smart? Having Moaning Myrtle in the men's room is great for inside jokes, but what about Joe the tourist who just wants to take a moment to powder his nose without this overindulgent theming? Isn't it just as unsettling if you had to hear cartoon sound effects every time you flushed at Woody Woodpecker's kids' own bathrooms? Is it necessary to have a watering hole that distinctly does not carry any soft drinks? Authenticity is one thing, but how would the average tourist know a Gilly water is a regular, fancily designed $4 bottle of plain old water? I still don't even know what a Gilly water is. I guess what gets under my skin the most is that I'm apparently in a very tiny minority here. Since 7 billion plus are under the hypnotic spell of J.K. Rowling's books, I guess it's my fault for not being up to date. But then I asked myself, is it really that much different from any other park franchise? For example, Marvel Superhero Island. From the moment we first absorb media, we understand the concept of good guys and heroes, and that superheroes are physically adept, superpowered beings who fight bad guys for the betterment of humanity. In a ride like Spider-Man, you aren't required to know who Spider-Man is. As long as you know he's the good guy, you can still follow the story with relative ease. His powers and abilities, as well as the villains, are given explicit screen time to help you understand what they're capable of. You're not required to read a stack of comic books just to understand it. With Harry Potter, under what I assume is Rowling's explicit orders, you can't just have passing knowledge. Why is there a puking animatronic in the window? Why is there a Rastafarian shrunken head talking on a bus? What is the deal with vomit-flavored jelly beans? Why would you want to eat a chocolate frog that's still moving? What's a muggle? Why owls? Oh, you didn't see the movie? Well, tough break, loser. Look up the word ostracized, kid. It'll help you gain perspective. On the other hand, Star Tours is kind of on the same level. You're not told what a Tatooine is, what those hairy people are, nor even what it is you're rebelling. I think 2 things make the difference. 1, Star Tours is one ride, not over a quarter of an entire resort complex like Hogsmeade Diagon Alley is. And 2, time. I was 13 by the time I noticed kids reading Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone. Star Wars and Marvel, though as a kid I was never really a fan, but I knew from toy commercials and trailers, Disney Adventures articles, and other fleeting glimpses on TV or whatever kids brought into school. I think since Harry Potter wasn't even in existence when I was younger, I haven't bonded with it in a pseudo-nostalgic way. But since it's been about 15 years since Harry Potter first came into the world, it's obvious it will become part of everyone's collective consciousness as children, regardless of preference. That is, if the series stands the test of time. On one hand, you could easily say, well, of course they will. We've been preaching the gospel of Harry Potter for 15 years. But that's not really long enough, is it? Granted, it's impressive for a franchise to survive more than a few years, but what about 50 years down the road? Will fans be just as enthusiastic then? Or will it be just like Marvel and Star Wars, where kids will pick up bits and pieces throughout childhood and come to embrace it in their later years? What if Universal built a Middle-earth area right now based on, say, flying on the giant plot hole eagles? If you weren't a Lord of the Rings fan, you'd be confused, wouldn't you? It doesn't matter if they've been making those movies since 2001, right? All of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter is being lauded by critics inside and outside the theme park industry as the best Disney standard theming meets technology since, well, Disney. Disney's response with New Fantasyland has been not bad at best and lower end of acceptable at worst, but at least I know the stories of Snow White, Belle, and Ariel. But again, I've known the stories for over 20 years now, and these stories are more common knowledge, and 2 out of the 3 are simply recaps of the movies. By no means is Diagon Alley bad, just unkind or negligent to the uninitiated. Maybe in 20 years it won't be as big a deal to me, but for right now, I can only just stare in confusion. Oh, and to all those elitist snobs who say, well, you have to read the books to get it, you are banned from the comments section, because that is exactly the attitude I'm talking about. A guy can only hear that so many times, you know? I'm TAP-G, and I'm fed up.